connection was shut off right off the start, or right off the rip. The second video was seemingly throttled to bejesus. So let's see if this third video works. I mean, I did adjust the title so it's no longer, you know, scary. We don't want my title saying anything about, you know, having that T word in it. Talking about T-dog. Talking about T-dump. Interesting, though. Because I really do wonder, like, why is he still in office? Why is he still allowed to be in office? So I said it in the last video, and I'm saying it again.
Displayed her Starbucks cup on air as she anchored it.
So today I happened to watch WatchMojo.com, their video on YouTube titled 50 Incidents That Got TV Hosts Fired. And I thought it was a really interesting look into the way things work. Because this video is all about the one that really like hit me was Mario Batali, right? Mario Batali had allegations levied against him that were found to not be true, and still he lost his everything. And during the time when those allegations were being brought against him, how's it going, man? During that time, before they knew anything, while he was under the investigation, while he was under the spotlight for the negative stuff, obviously, I mean, he's always had the spotlight, they removed him until they, you know, figured out what was going on was the narrative. And you see that, you know, this 50 incidents that got TV hosts fired, it actually, the number one incident is Billy Bush. Billy Bush got fired because of what Trump said. Trump was so deplorable that Billy Bush got fired for being the host that I guess allowed that to take place. I'm not even really sure what the reasoning was. You know, and I don't know what the reasoning was for when they, you know, literally with Billy Bush. What did they say was the thing? I'm not sure. And they didn't even address it. They didn't say it's because he did this or he did that. It was because of what Trump did. And again, I think Billy Bush was a patsy, a fall guy. I mean, he's a Bush. You know, George Bush's nephew. So it's not like he's fallen on hard times or anything. You want to talk about hard times, Betty? I'll talk about hard times. Hard times, baby. You got to know about hard times. I think Dusty Rhodes is one of the most overrated, goofy-ass wrestlers of all time. I can't, for the life of me, imagine why anybody likes Dusty Rhodes. Especially the idea of this fat dude walking around without a shirt on like that. He was just nasty. You have a black screen right now, Matt? Are you serious? Oh, there we go. Okay. So I've had lots of trouble. This is the third video today. The first one, the comments didn't work right off the bat. The second one was throttled. So we're seeing how this third one works. What do you think, Augo? Why is Trump still in office? I've been saying this now for a few days. I don't understand this. Anybody that is that deeply embroiled in a controversy on this level, in any other way, they always get fired. They always, at the very least, they get removed until things smooth over, you know. This doesn't make any sense. And it's not like he's doing good things. He just spent 10 million American taxpayer dollars to open up a golf course and is now using the White House, you know, television network to advertise for said golf course. imagine if Obama had done anything even close to that. Anything even close. Had used taxpayer dollars to go open up a chain restaurant, to go open up a golf course. The Obama golf course. Imagine all the shit Trump would have talked about him. But I mean, seriously, this is just Trump still being in office. Just it's like a slap in the face. It's like they're literally trying to tell us as much as possible that they don't care about what we think. They're just like they just don't give a shit. They don't represent the people clearly. Clearly our government is not represented by us, and I mean, again, it opens up the book on Christianity. It makes all of the sense. And I know a lot of people don't want to see the connections, but to me they're undeniable. When you look at the Bible and how you have a book that is a Jewish fairy tale. It's not a Christian book. It's literally all of the characters in the Bible are Jewish. They literally talk about Gentiles as a separate group. Those are the Gentiles. This is for the Gentiles. They're not talking about for us Gentiles. That's not how it's mentioned in the Bible. The Gentiles are mentioned as a separate group. And so for Christians to think that book is their book, this is the book I'm going to use to base who I am, how I raise my children, what I tell people, hey everybody, I am a Christian. I am a Christian. You aren't even the top dogs in your own religion. You are willingly saying that you are second tier, that you are the lower class, that you are the slave. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you're not one of the chosen, then who are you? Gentiles are the Jays basically saying they agree with aren't evil monsters and call us Gentiles. LOL. What a backhanded compliment with the facts. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's hard to say, like especially when you're talking about in translation wise. Does Gentile mean gentle? In again, I'd say Hebrew, but Hebrew is the youngest language on the planet. I mean, it's literally like you don't have to look at the conspiracy theories. You don't have to go into these crazy places. You can literally just look at what they want you to know, and it's fucking. It's so obvious what's happening. And when you look at these at the Bible and stuff, the Bible is that exact thing. There's a reason why, from the beginning of your life as a Christian, you have been taught to think that you are second class. Again, if you're not one of the chosen, who are you? If you're not one of the chosen few, you're a slave. You're a slave for them. That's what it says. That's what they believe. That's how that works. And so from the earliest age, you're taught to make yourself, your everything is second class to these people. What these people want is more important than what you want. And your whole identity is created by them. They've given you the whole identity. Hebrew isn't even close to being the youngest language on the planet. Yeah, okay. See, again, this is where, like, somebody's going to argue about stuff they have no idea what they're talking about. And, of course, they're arrogantly going to, like Matt said, expect expect us to just believe them. So you guys, so Jake is a linguistics expert. He's actually a historical linguistics expert whose uncle built submarines, right? Like that's what we're gonna find here, right? Jake just happened upon this feed, and he just happens to be a linguistics expert. Prove him wrong, then. How do I? What do you mean prove him wrong? Prove who wrong? Jake? Isn't it funny how again these dumbasses love to come in here and demand proof, and then when it's presented to them, they jump to something else. It's not like he's going to acknowledge it, but I've more than proven that Hebrew is the youngest language on the planet. It was invented in the late 1800s, early 1900s by a guy called Eliezer Ben Yehuda. That wasn't his name. That was what he changed his name to. I think it was like Yitzhak Perlman or some shit like that. But that wasn't Semitic enough. So he changed it to Eliezer Ben Yehuda. And Eliezer Ben Yehuda is credited with Hebrew's revival. The revival. So what's interesting, and let's not even fuck around here. Let's pull up Eliezer Ben Yehuda. So this guy, the guy who invented Hebrew, there's pictures of him. So just so you guys know, Eliezer Ben Yehuda, born Eliezer Yitzhak Perlman. See, I told you. January 7th, 1858. Died December 16th, 1922. Was a Russian Jewish linguist, lexicographer, and journalist who immigrated to Jerusalem in 1881 when the Ottoman Empire still ruled it. He is renowned as the lexicographer of the first Hebrew dictionary and also as the editor of the Jerusalem-based Havzi, one of the first Hebrew newspapers published in Palestine. Ben Yehuda was the primary driving force behind the revival of the Hebrew language. Wait, what? Wait, what? Let's see. To accomplish the task, Ben Yehuda insisted with the Committee of the Hebrew Language that, to quote the committee records, in order to supplement the deficiencies of the Hebrew language, the committee coins words according to the rules of grammar and linguistic analogy from Semitic roots, Aramaic, and especially Arabic roots. So this requires just a little bit of intelligence here, right? If Hebrew is supposedly one of the oldest languages in the world, why would it ever need to be revived? One. If it's though, are we saying that you know all of these old Hebrew manuscripts and scrolls and engravings and all these other things that are supposedly hundreds, thousands of years old, not one of them was a dictionary? Two. Three, if they did have all of those scrolls and all that shit from way back when, why would you need to use Aramaic? I mean, you would think if there's so many scrolls and so many manuscripts and so many engravings and all this other shit, the words would be there. You'd be able to find all the words you need to be able to do your thing. No, it's the newest language on the planet. Let's see. Wait. Let's just in case you guys are not understanding. in 1903, along with many supporters, along with many of the second Aliyah, supported Theodore Herzl's Uganda scheme proposal. Uganda scheme proposal? How many times have you heard about the story that they were almost put Israel in Uganda until they could take Palestine over? They were going to make Uganda the Jewish homeland. Because apparently it had nothing to do with the Bible. But because Uganda was so far away from everything, and it would have required a lot of work on their end, they abandoned the proposal because they knew they're not going to farm. They're not hardworking people. You know, where are they going to get all their slaves from? Ben Yehuda raised his son, Ben Zion, meaning son of Zion, entirely in Hebrew. He did not allow his son to be exposed to other languages during childhood, and even berated his wife for singing a Russian lullaby. His son thus became the first native speaker of Hebrew in modern times. See, I'm making it all up, right? Right? People will say, well, show the proof then. Show the proof then. And then when the proof is shown, they go, I don't understand things. Oh, we've got Dumb Girl is here. The new iteration of Dumb Girl is here. And she is feisty. How are you such an expert on every topic? Well, probably from looking things up. But if you were to ask me about engineering, if you were to ask me about sports, you know, who's the quarterback for the, you know, I know basic sports stuff, but you want some details, you want some baseball knowledge, you want some basketball, like I know the prominent names, and that's about it. You want to talk about, you know, complex math equations. Not going to be your guy for that. But when it comes to this particular thing, yeah, I'm the best. I'm the best. And you can't prove anything otherwise because all you're going to say is dumb shit. All right? Who's going to argue with me? Who's going to argue with Wikipedia about the origins of Hebrew? Youngest language on the planet. And see, like I was saying, if you look at the way, like, the Bible is structured, it totally makes sense why they put that belief structure on you. You know, it's all about celebrating what happens after you die and accepting the way things are, and don't covet thy neighbor's goods, and, you know, be thankful for the nothing you do have, and like all this shit. It's really a mind fuck. But on the highest levels, it's all about making you complacent to the idea that this is one of those things that it always shocks me. I always ask Christians this, and they just never, they'll do everything they can to avoid it. But why are you second class in your own belief structure? Why don't you understand, like, your Bible is a Jewish fairy tale. The characters in the Bible are all Jewish. There's no arguing that. There's no way around that. And again, then we get into that whole God's chosen people aspect of things. And what you see is that you are supposed to, like, you are required to stand down, to acknowledge that other people are born superior to you. You are just a second-rate Gentile, second-rate Goyim, second-rate Christian. And when you compare that to how it is today, it's literally the same thing. You're an American. You're a second class, second rate American who, you know, the bosses are all dual Israeli citizens. They completely control the government. They completely control AIPAC, and which AIPAC definitely controls the government. You know, they control all of entertainment. And you know, let's address this right off the bat too. To suggest that saying any one group has all of the money, power, and control, that is a slur, is just ridiculous. And I think when people like, and the thing is, you've never been told that. You've always been told you're just not allowed to say that because it is a slur. But when you compare it and you go, well, wait, what's the negative part? When you say that they have all the money, what does that mean? You know, if somebody came up to me and was like, dude, you have a whole bunch of money, power, and control, I'm gonna punch him in the face. How dare you say such a horrible thing to me? How dare you suggest I have money and power and control? How dare you? When you look at what racial slurs are, and you look at like the N-bomb and all that other shit, when you look at the stereotypes, when you look at the comedians, look at guys like Ari Shaffir. Ari Shaffir is the newest iteration. What they love giving us these characters. You know, Joe Rogan is the the next iteration of George Carlin. Ari Shaffir is Don Rickles 2.0, right? Like they always do that. They give us these characters. And you'll see Ari Shaffir is like this atheist. He always says he's such an atheist. But he's also a Jew. And that's not possible. You can't convert to a race. So therefore, anything you can convert to is not a race. It's an idea. It's a belief structure. It's a cult. George Carlin wasn't funny at all. George Carlin was terrible. He wasn't even like funny. He was informative, but he wasn't funny. You know, his greatest rants aren't funny. It's almost funny because it's like, it's a really big club and you ain't in it. Yeah. Like that's where it's like, it's not funny. It's just, you laugh out of like uncomfortable. But Ari Shaffir does it. Don Rickles used to do it. All those guys that claim that they're like universally racist and they make fun of everybody and they talk bad about everybody. Ari Shaffir constantly talks about how the Jewish people are the smartest people. That's the negative thing. They're the smartest people. They're the richest people. Like, these are not negatives. You know, he talks bad about black people all the time, and he says all kinds of stereotypical black shit. Which, you know, as a person of color myself, I fucking hate it. I hate that the caricatures that black people have been made into by the J-controlled media. You know, when you only show people fucking clowns in modern day blackface, when that's all the kids see growing up, that's who they're going to idolize. It doesn't matter what you tell them. Don't forget to like, share, and sub, says Matt. And I agree with him. You should like, share, and sub. If you agree with this message, you should like, share. Actually, no, you shouldn't. Because it seems like the more likes and shares this video gets, the lower the numbers get for some doesn't make any sense sort of reason. Well, again, everything makes sense. It's just what you're willing to entertain, you know. It doesn't make sense that in a society like ours that Trump would still be in office. However, it does make sense when you say, well, Trump is, Israel's puppet, and, the dual Israeli citizens control, AIPAC controls the government, and they don't want to lose Trump because Trump's just a good boy, a good goy, and it's all just a big conspiracy. Well, then, yeah, actually, it does make sense. That really does make sense. And it's the only way it makes sense. Yes, modern day blackface. Seriously, go look at Eminem. Go look at the hip hop community. Go look at 2000s hip hop. Prior to that, you had the 90s hip hop where these guys are talking about their pimps and their gangsters. Two of some of the worst elements of society. That's who we are. We're pimps. Pimps are the worst people in the fucking world. Pimps are disgusting. Fuck pimps. I can't stand pimps. Although, if you can do it without the strong arm tactics, it's a part of life. Like, nobody forces, that's too much. There are plenty of people forced into prostitution. So that's such a weird thing. But pimps are gross. But once we went from pimps, then we went to this just goof. Like, I'm going to wear a jersey with a t-shirt, with a do-rag, with a hat, with a headband, with armbands. I mean, Nelly's putting a fucking Band-Aid on his face and shit. That became a thing. Motherfuckers walking around with a Band-Aid on. LL Cool J rolling up one leg of his pants. I swear, man, it's such a clown show. It's so fucking stupid. You make a little bit of money. First thing you do is run to the J Jeweler. Give all that money back for some fucking worthless rocks that as soon as you buy them, they become worth a lot less than what you paid. Just because it isn't forced on people, yeah, well, it just depends on what you're talking about. Being as someone that really does believe in equality and believes in women, I don't believe that women, past a certain age, that they're just victims. I believe, it does become choice in some ways. But again, when we're talking about things like prostitution and all that shit, I mean, these people have been broken since young ages. It's a whole much bigger thing than is it this or that. There's so much more that goes into it than just this or that. So, yeah, that's a completely different topic. Personally, I'm not opposed to prostitution. Not legally, not willingly. I think I think it's unfair to assume that anybody can just go get laid. That anybody can just procure a beautiful woman's company. It's just not the case. It's not true. There are lots of people out there that, especially when it comes to beautiful women, so many of them are superficial that they're not going to give an ugly guy a chance. So there's lots of ugly guys out there that have no game whatsoever, and they absolutely don't know how to get, to that position. They never, maybe they grew up in a single household, they single parent household, just the mom, whatever it may be. But there are plenty of people out there who cannot just go out there and get laid. So for them to be able to pay to do it for a willing exchange in an adult situation, I have absolutely no issue with that. I actually think they provide a pretty decent service. But I'm a bad guy, I'm sure. Look at how dumbass the comments are. These are all Trump supporters. These are all pedos. These are all Israeli bots. And as I was saying, when it came to the Bible, right? The Bible has convinced you to be second class in your own belief structure, in your own salvation. So when you look at the way that the United States works right now, we are second class in our own fucking country. The President of the United States is destroying the First Amendment to protect a foreign group, a foreign country that's committing genocide against another foreign country. You know, to protect one belief structure. And it just so happens to be the exact same narrative that your Bible is. You know, there's no real reason for it. It doesn't make any sense, but these people are the chosen people. Belch. You are just a slave. And everybody just accepts it. You know, and you don't see like this is why you were programmed with this. If it was any other country doing what Israel does, we would be up in arms. We would be furious. Especially if we contributed so much to that country and then they just talk shit about us. But just something as simple as this. If this was any other country, if I could show you a video from any other country doing this, saying this, where you have at the time, 2010, a future Prime Minister, Naftali Bennett, who is a former Prime Minister at this point. But this is on IsraelNationalNews.com. Listen to what this man says.
Moetzet Yesha, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged Instruction Day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
Okay, so just imagine that, right? Imagine that is an Asian stereotype. You know, broken English, that kind of shit. And he's saying those same things about how they absolutely control the #1 source of information in the world. That Wikipedia by 2010 was considered the #1 source of information in the world. And yet they needed Israel to come in to teach the editors how to edit things so that it worked in Israel's favor. So he says in the beginning, my Israel. And I don't know if he means like his Israel or if that's the name of an organization. Yeah, see, my Israel. Oh wait, no, okay, so let's see. Last year, my Israel funded 118,000 meals for people living in poverty. That is just nothing. That is nothing. Israel is given money from multiple countries throughout the world, the United States being one of them. And we give them $3.8 billion, a cash payment in the first fiscal month of every year. We give Israel $3,800,000,000 cash without any sort of stipulations, without any strings attached, without any oversight, nothing like that. They just get this one cash payment every single year. And that's again, that's just the base. This happens early on in the year so that multiple other things can happen throughout the year where Israel gets money. Joe Biden, between August of 2023, October of 2023 and August of 2024, gave Israel almost $150 billion. Think about that. The amount of money that's been funneled into Israel is just overwhelming. And then to think they're bragging, My Israel is bragging that they gave out 118,000 meals. Woo! What a fucking, what a good thing that is. All right, so My Israel, let's go to Wiki so we can find out about it. Let's see how much there is to find out. Of course, it's completely locked. So anyone that wants to cry about anyone can edit Wikipedia, well, you can't. And you know you can't, because if anybody could edit Wikipedia, all they would have to do was go to the page, click edit, click select all, click delete, and then repeat over and over again on numerous different pages, just absolutely fucking Wikipedia up. That would be a poor business decision on their end to allow everyone just free reign to edit. On pages where you are allowed to supposedly edit, that edit is sent to, a flag is sent to the system then comes, the editors, the wiki editors that Naftali Bennett was talking about, then check to see if your statement has a balanced and is balanced and Zionist in nature. And if it's not, well, then they remove it. It's really simple. If your edit fits the narrative, well, then they might keep it. My Israel is an Israeli right-wing ultra-paramilitary or parliamentary movement founded by Naftali Bennett. Go figure. The movement was founded in early 2010 by Elit Shakid and Naftali Bennett, then leader of the Yesha Council, representing settlers, colonists, evil, disgusting colonists. They are not settlers. They're invaders. It's just fucking insane. So, I don't know if you guys can see it, but look at the comments. Look at how everybody keeps saying this. All these random people keep saying the same dumb shit. Let me just read you something else here. Right? By the way, if you're watching, don't like, share, or sub, okay? Whatever you do, don't do that. Act.il was a social networking service used by supporters of Israel to oppose online anti-Israel content, such as the BDS movement. Its activities were referred to as a, quote, online propaganda campaign and, quote, a virtual situation room for pro-Israel experts. Act.il directed its users to, quote, missions to like, comment on, and share pro-Israel material on social media. It also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Israel. Users were guided on how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points. So when you see like the repeat of phrases, the repeat of dumb shit, they don't actually address anything being said. They just repeat dumb shit, right? Schizo, crackhead, Rob Van Dam, that kind of shit, right? Because apparently these strangers, total strangers who could literally be doing anything else in the world, they're coming to the page to talk shit about the guy who thinks we should kill pedos and eliminate the J control scheme. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? The Users were were guided on how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points or sharing or upvoting an allied comment. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Israel's perspective for them to share. By completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. They literally made trolling someone like me into a like video game where you get rewarded and you get points and you get and this is something that I said they were doing for years. I just didn't have the proof of it. But that's proof. That's undeniable proof that that's what they do. And when you see the same old, stupid ass comments coming through, I mean, again, who is going to be so motivated that they set alarms because they know I go live at the same time every day? So they come here every day for hours on end, trying their damnedest to get my attention by talking shit. Not engaging, not saying, hey, I think you're wrong about this thing, or I think you're wrong about that thing, here's why. They never do anything like that. It's just weird crybaby shit that I can't imagine any of the normal people would do. And then they'll say things like, oh, we're trolls. Again, to me, if you acknowledge that's who you are, that your life is so fucking miserable, that you just go online to look for people talking about this particular thing, because you won't see these trolls on like a news feed or on a Christian leader feed or, insert third thing, something where it could matter. They only seem to be focused on truther feeds where they then talk shit about people like me who think we should kill pedos. How does that even work? The other places you'll see them are on the pedophile hunter pages. One of the most telling videos I've seen is Gordon Flowers, who is a J, piece of shit, but he does good work, so he gets a pass. To some degree. I'd still deport him when I become president. I'll give him the option of denouncing the supremacy and going after the pedos across the board, not just outside of your group. And we'll see what he says. But he did this one video where he went live. He was trying to do the feed live. And he went into this Bombay company type of a store where they sell like knickknacks and shit. And there was this really super gay guy that worked there. And, he had been chatting with a teenager and tried to hook up with him and tried to have the teenager come up and see him at work and shit. And so Alex Rosen, Gordon Flowers, approaches him. And within like a minute, the phone at the facility starts ringing off the hook, just ringing. And the guy has to be like, hang on a second. And he goes to answer the phone. And he's like, well, that was weird. Somebody was saying you're getting set up, run. I don't understand. And people apparently trying to protect the pedophile were calling left and right, trying to interrupt. They called the police. They did everything they could to disrupt Gordon Flowers, Alex Rosen, busting this guy. And you just have to ask yourself, like, who's going to do that? Who would ever make a phone call, call the police, who would ever try to help a pedophile? I mean, it's just, you could even see Gordon Flowers, Alex Rosen looking, going, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this? Who the fuck is going to do that? And the thing that you have to realize is that even like the pedo hunters like Gordon Flowers, a large portion of his audience is pedophiles trying to learn the trade, trying to learn what not to do, trying to help each other. You know, trying to hurt the guy that's trying to hurt them. And you have to understand, like, it's a much worse problem than I think you realize. You know, when Chris Hansen does his thing, and he has the police department behind him, and they have all those resources, those guys are catching like 15 people a day. Alex Rosen, just being some regular dude with just a group of regular people, is catching, you know, at least one person every day. And the thing is, when you see the behind the scenes of any of those guys, they all say the same thing. As soon as they make the profile where it has a picture of a younger looking girl or boy, and the name will be like, you know, Johnny 2010 or something like that, Johnny 2012. Because even though you have to say you're 18, you know, a lot of these guys give it away with their names. As soon as they create the profile, it's being hit up left and right by adults. And personally, I don't care what you have to say. I don't care what reason you come up with. If you're an adult and you reach out to a child, a teenager, you don't know them. They're just a random profile that pops up and you're like, hey, what's up? I just wanted to talk to you. I'm a 30-plus-year-old man and I want to talk to a teenager. Like, there is no excuse. You're a sick piece of shit. You just haven't been caught yet. You're too smart to say anything, you know, incriminating. But the reality is, if you even reach out to a teenager as an adult, there's something going on there. There's something going on. And to me, I'm more than okay with making that mistake. If I'm wrong, then I'll be happy to admit I'm wrong. But I would much rather, you know, take the precautions necessary. I'll be wrong so you can't be right. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'll be wrong so that I'm not right. Like, I'm okay with not being right with that one. But you're going to have to prove it. You're going to have to absolutely prove that you have no weird shit going on. You were just reaching out to the teenager because what? What's the reason? A very small part of the Bible is about afterlife. Most of it is about how we treat others. No, it's not. Most of it is just nonsense. Most of it is dumb, silly fairy tales talking about a jealous, vengeful God who is constantly fucking with people who don't play the rules. No, the Bible is nonsense. It's nothing but nonsense. You know? It's literally just it's such a stupid story. It's embarrassing how, like, it's embarrassing that it has power over my life. That rules and regulations and, you know, gay people aren't allowed to see their loved ones in the hospital because they're not considered family members because of religious bullshit. Like, it's all just insane. The Bible is just fucking utter nonsense. And the thing is, I'm not the one that has to come up with the proof. You're the one making the extraordinary claim that your Bible is true. You should have to come up with the proof. And the thing is, we all know. This is why Christians always get so mad at this conversation. Because there is no proof. There's literally nothing they can say to prove it. So anyway, My Israel was founded in early 2010 by Alit Shakid and Naftali Bennett, then the leader of the Yasha Council representing settlers. The pair had previously worked together in Benjamin Netanyahu's office, and both later became right-wing politicians in the Knesset under Prime Minister Netanyahu. Well, and Naftali Bennett became Prime Minister himself. In May 2011, the movement began opening branches throughout the country. In July, branches were opened in a bunch of dumb places. In September of 2014, The movement was registered as a nonprofit organization run by Sarah Hetzny Cohen. The My Israel website, archived in 2023, Google Translate from Hebrew, states, My Israel is an activist Zionist movement which works with the aim of bringing to the public agenda issues that are at the forefront of the Zionist vision and action in order to strengthen the Jewish and democratic identity of the country. The movement cooperates with the Yesha Council in the fields of logistics and PR. It deals with public relations across the internet and especially on social networks, but also arranges protests and demonstrations against alleged anti-Zionist activity in society and the media. As of October 2024, the group's Facebook page had 194,000 likes and 232,000 followers. Exactly. 194,000 likes exactly and 232,000 followers exactly. Not 232,526. No. Look at these dumbasses. They're like, you're going to be judged. Ooh, you're going to be... if I'm judged by a God that allowed pedophilia to exist, so be it. I want nothing to do with that piece of shit, God. It's funny how easily so many Christians, especially white males, just overlook pedophilia. Really makes you wonder who they are. They're probably Trump supporters. And at this point, if you're a Trump supporter, that means you're overlooking the idea that he, at the very least, and I say this almost in jest, but at the very least, he covered up a pedophile. He covered for a pedophile, covered up a pedophile ring, But I mean, the laundry list of things this man has said and done, the charges, the charges and the accusations and the convictions. I mean, you can easily find him on Howard Stern, where he's talking about he would have no problem banging 24-year-olds. He's married, but he would have no problem. And he was 60 at the time. And when asked, well, do you have a limit? He says, no. Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to get caught with a 12-year-old, fooling around with a 12-year-old, like whoever. That right there, like, that's not the response that any non-pedo person gives. Nobody who isn't a pedophile says, oh, look who's coming down all sneaky like. Bitch. I almost locked you out.
No, you didn't.
What are you doing? Don't take both of them.
I'll bring the roaches.
Don't take both of them. Yeah, don't take both of them. I only have one. You've got all of them. Jesus Christ, you fucking chimney. Paranoid and abusive, miserable family environment. You see what desperate shit they come up with? Instead of saying anything along the lines of, yeah, you're right, man, we should kill those pedos. Yeah, you're right, this shit's fucked up. Yeah, we should get rid of this chosen control scheme. Blah, anything along those lines. Me just having a conversation with my wife means it's a miserable, abusive and paranoid situation. Miserable family. Like this is how desperate they are. This is, and you wouldn't think, like, I'm talking about the #1 trending topic in the world. You would think they would be able to actually address what's being said, but instead they just have to, it's desperate shit. and I have to keep repeating myself. Who the fuck do you think would be behind this? How many normal people do you know that look for people talking shit about pedophiles so they can talk shit about them? And then sit there on their feed for hours after hours, just throwing line after line out, trying to get acknowledgement. None of those lines actually, denounce the pedophilia or anything, even acknowledge what's being said. But who do you think is behind this? I read you the act.il where it's proof that they've made it into a video game type of a scenario. But what else do you guys need? Suffering brings you closer to the Most High. Again, you see why you're a Christian? Do you see why? It's that kind of bullshit that they've put on you. That suffering, what you need to do is suffer. You know how your life sucks and it could be different if the leaders at the top just made different decisions? They're doing you a favor. Because you, as a dumb goyim, as a Gentile, you're supposed to suffer. Just like how your God doesn't answer prayers, how your God answers tithing, your God, you need to pay the church for your God to start looking down, giving you some favor. It's the same shit. You need to suffer. Yeah, that's why things suck so much, because, they're doing you a favor. They're bringing you closer to God, you dumb goyim. You dumb goyim. It's easy to blame God for your problems. Yeah, I'm talking about my problems, aren't I? Look at how desperate stupid is. Right? Stupid is mad because stupid can't override what I'm saying. But stupid still wants to believe what it does. So it's going to keep coming up with these stupid things to sort of, try to smooth things over. You're blaming God for your problems. It's not my problem that the church keeps raping fucking children all the time. That's not my issue. That's a huge issue, but that's not my issue. I don't experience that, thankfully. I'm not the one that's being genocided right now. Right? And then there's this idea, like, this is again how stupid you are. You think I blame something that doesn't exist. How stupid do you have to be? You're blaming God for this. No. You're. If you can take anything from this feed, right? And I highly encourage you to pay attention to this one thing. You'll see nothing but examples of what people do when they can't make an argument, right? And you can take this with you in any course of life, whether it's a relationship or it's a coworker or whatever. When somebody starts answering questions or saying things, like if you ask them a question and they answer a different question, or they say that you asked a question that you didn't ask, right? Oh, so what you're saying is, no. What I said was, let's go with what I said, not what you say I'm saying. What I said was, this idea of you're blaming God. Like, you have to be, how does somebody blame something that they don't think exists? I even say it all the time. Trump isn't the problem. Trump is a problem, but he's not the problem. The much bigger problem when it comes to Trump is the Trump supporters. Is the average everyday nobody that creates this much larger collective fucking ignorant voice. But it at least Trump exists. It's so silly how people will, instead of, it's like when you start talking about Trump, how people bring up Biden. Or you start talking about Christianity and they'll be like, well, what about the Muslims? The Muslims do this and this, and I don't hear you talking about that. So you're basically acknowledging what I'm saying about your thing and trying to justify it by saying, look what they do. That's a pretty standard Israeli trick, actually. Israel literally does that anytime anything's brought up. If they're not telling you that you're not allowed to talk about it, that's the main. The main one is that you shouldn't say that. You're not allowed to say that, you know. And then when you keep going, they say, well, what about what these people are doing? Or what about this story in history that we give you? You know, what about that? And then when you don't agree with it, they go, oh, well, that's anti-Semitism. You're being anti-Semitic. Because they apparently don't know what that word means. But this is the dumb shit I get, man. This is the shit. Oh man, I'm Christian and I thought he was a Trump supporter at the beginning. Well, I don't know why. This guy needs to start by learning to make his own bed. Yep. Why is Google spitting like he's with his boyfriend? Like, look at all this shit. These are all people apparently mad at me because I think we should kill pedos. Because I think we should eliminate the J control scheme and stop the genocide that's taking place right now. That's not being talked about anymore. The Trump distraction is working like gangbusters. Am I an atheist? I'm a Gaianist. I believe in Gaianism. But as far as your given labels go, abso-fucking-lutely. I'm not arrogant like all of you are. You know? It's so incredibly like telling and obvious again that you guys just, you don't see it. And I guess that comes with your arrogance. But at the end of the day, you guys are far more arrogant than I am. This is the guy that doesn't believe what we're told to believe, and he says I'm arrogant? What? You are the most. Thank you. Thank you. I am the most. That's why you're here all the time, every single day for hours on end. Makes sense? A shining beacon. Yup. Again. Skipped his meds. Yup. Because taking medication and mental issues are just a joke to be thrown around. You're giving me a horrible headache, and it's too bad that you have to be here, huh? If people wonder why I don't address the comments, here, this is what I get. All right? He's just on here to make a few bucks for drugs. You know, because I'm definitely getting, at least you think I'm good enough to be getting paid. It's interesting how you don't realize that that's what you're saying, but that's what you're saying. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy as shit. Instead of addressing, and most of these people would probably identify as Christian. Right? They want to pretend like they're these good, God-fearing Christians who live a good Christian life, and they're on here talking stupid shit because they can't actually argue anything that makes sense. How do you justify it? You know, how do you justify your belief in any of it other than your arrogance? Literally, that's all it ever comes down to. You're just an arrogant piece of shit. And you're mad at me because I'm not. Interesting how that works. You're so arrogant, you say Christianity is the answer. It's the key, it has all the truth in it, it's the word of God, just this, that, and the other. You say that, right? And then when asked about it, when somebody questions that, or questions your knowledge on it, instead of engaging with them, embracing them, and saying, oh, here, let me explain to you the way I feel, the way I think. Here, let me talk to you about it. You attack them because they don't just believe like you do. Because at the end of the day, that's all it is. Here we go, another one. Jesus is the Word of God. Jesus is the Word of God. Again, anytime I decide to just read a random comment, you see how dumb they are. But this is, this is what I'm saying. Like, all of you Christians out there, every single one of you, I don't care what you have to say, none of you have gone around and, you looked into Islam, you looked into Buddhism, you looked into Hindi, you looked into Jehovah's Witnesses, you looked into Mormons, you looked into Scientology, you looked into all these Judaism, you looked into all these other cults, and through careful analysis and scientific method, you use that razor to cut all the fat, Occam's razor, cutting all the fat off, and when it's all said and done, you landed on Christianity being the truth because of... Not one of you can do that. Not one of you can say that. Every single one of you believes that your shit is right, and that the much more common, the much more popular Islam, there are more Muslims than there are anyone else, that thing and all those people are wrong. They believe a very similar story. As a matter of fact, all three, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are considered the Abrahamic religions because they all come from Abraham, the father of the Jewish people. So it's like right out there in the open that you're reading the same story, the same, well, at least the same thing given by the same people in order to set up the boundaries. If Abraham laid it all out, and it was, the Christians are like the industrious, forward-thinking slaves, and then the Muslims are like the other side. You got to keep the people controlled somehow. While you've made it so yours is the top dog. The Christians don't even believe themselves to be the top dog in their own religion. Their Christian God favors the bad guys in the Bible who killed your superhero, your Christian God's only son. Those are Christian God's chosen people. You've been given that narrative and you just accept it. You don't bother to question it. You don't like, share, and sub, like a normal person. Like, share, sub, help. I mean, don't. Sorry, I keep saying to myself, do it, because I'm used to saying it. But the reality is you shouldn't, because, why would you hit share and then share it on Facebook real quick? And let other people know that you might have a different opinion, or you could even share it with the thing that said, with the headline saying, this guy's crazy. Somebody come tell him how and why, because all of the stupid people in the comments can't seem to. Look at all these dumb comments. Now I'm begging for views. He's in the park. Yep, I'm in the park. Gotta love the park in the middle of the neighborhood. To pick up a kid, yeah, yeah. I'm in a park to pick up a kid. The guy that thinks we should kill pedos. See, this is how you know that what I'm doing actually affects them. Right? I mean, it's such a stupid thing to think that somebody that every single day goes live and repeatedly says how we should kill pedos, there's no excuse, there's nothing. They need to die. That person is guilty? Do you really think that's how that works? Yeah. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I'm not advocating for their torturous, you know, brutal, prolonged death, because that's who I am. But I do have to wonder, you know, knowing that is how I feel and that is what I'm always talking about, who is going to oppose that? Who's going to come on here and have negative things to say about the guy who says what I say? The only way it makes sense, though, because everything does make sense, just depends on how you look at it. Just like the only way I can rationalize how people can still be Trump supporters is because the pedo problem is so much worse than people think it is. And the majority, the vast 90-some% of those people are pedos. And they might not be the ones that are compelled enough to go out and actually act on it, risk their own selfish lives. However, the child exploitation material, you know, the digital aspect of that, the business behind sharing child exploitation materials, not CP. Porn is a willing contract between, you know, adult equal participants who agree to something. That's porn. CP is exactly the child exploitation materials is just that. It's children being exploited. That isn't the biggest business in the world because there's a small group of people doing it, or one of the biggest businesses in the world. That's the biggest shit in the world, the frazzle drips and the spirit cookings and all this other shit. That's not just at the top. That's all the way down. And that's the same people who are going to still support Trump despite all this bullshit. The same people who are going to waste hours of their lives talking shit to me. Yeah, those are the same people that have that shit on their computers. Those are the same people that don't want you looking at their search history. That's for damn sure. But I'm wrong. I'm wrong and I'm crazy. There's just all these random people that are here because it's just fun. We're just trolls. We got nothing else going on in our lives, so we thought we'd come to your feed. We could go to like a newscaster's feed. We could go to a Trump supporter's feed. We could go to anybody like that and you know, ridicule them and make them feel bad for not covering this, for not exposing this, for still having allegiances and all these things. But instead of doing that, find the guy that's talking about kill pedos and try your best to interrupt his feed. That's what makes the most sense, right? Keep trying to change the subject. Well, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something else. Even if this feed had started out being about submarines, and it eventually morphed into this where we're talking about this really horrible shit, for anybody to be like, you know what, this, like, if you're so fucking selfish that you would go, this isn't really a topic I'm interested in, then you would at least think they would just click off. But to think that you would sit here and try to change the subject, talk about this instead. I know you're talking about this. I know you got to this point, and and I could give an opinion on this. I'm going to say talk about this other thing instead. Because that's what you said you were going to talk about. Why did you say you were going to? I don't understand titles. I have a hard time with titles. That's your description. That's you are. If you put you are when you mean Y-O-U-R, you're just a lazy dumbass who probably doesn't know the difference. You are is like you are. You're in that sort of way. That's the your that you are represents. But as far as my description goes, that's blank. The description will have the links to the music, www.the-bilderberg.group.com. It'll have a link to Hollywoodism, the greatest movie ever made, the best film ever made. It'll have links to the Facebook page, videos, but it seems like if I put those in beforehand, the feed doesn't work as well. If you're referring to the title of the show is Submarines Aren't Real. And you can tell that that's what it is because it says part. Meaning, you know, this is the title and then this is what we're talking about. The second part of it is what we're talking about. And the title clearly says, why is he still in office? So to pretend like, again, you can only talk about, I should only talk about what's in the title, but only the front part of the title. Not the second part. No, don't talk about the rest of it. I don't understand. These are the same people who go to Shell gas stations and complain because they don't sell shells. And they're like, but why did you call it Shell? Why do you have a logo that's a seashell? I thought I could buy seashells here. These are the people that buy the tickets to the Smashing Pumpkins concert and get mad because they're not on stage smashing pumpkins. Why are they singing songs? I thought they were going to smash pumpkins. That's why I thought I was going to see a bunch of gourds getting smashed. What the fuck? Like, these are dumb people who just don't understand things. Or they're looking for some sort of cop-out because, you know, they're guilty. At the end of the day, the people talking shit to me are the guilty ones. They're the pedos. That's why they're here talking shit using fake profiles. You know, hiding behind the anonymity of YouTube and the fact that they somehow have the ability to make fake profile after fake profile. You can claim it's easy all day long. I don't know how to do it. And I would have no need to. I just, the idea of a fake profile, I want you to know who's saying these things to you. I don't want you to guess. Right? But look at these dumb comments. Just look at how crybaby it is. Hey, hell, my mental disorder. It's a mental disorder. I think we should kill pedos. Something's wrong with me. I think we should eliminate the J control scheme. Something must be wrong with me. I'm crazy. How many times do you think he was arrested for child porn? Look it up, man. If I was arrested, there would be a fucking, there would be you know, it would be there. You'd be able to find it. Find it. See what you can find there, doofus. I bet you don't find much. But then again, that's why I go live showing my face, saying these things. I've been putting it out there for well over a year now. If any of you shit talkers want to gain even a tiny bit of credibility, just a little bit, so that people can, you know, at least know that there's some sort of legitimacy behind your page, make a quick video. You could do it now. You could make a quick Guy Williams sucks video, take 5 minutes, talk about how bad I am, how stupid I am, all these things, what I'm wrong about. Well, that would be really great if any of you would actually address what I'm wrong about, which then gives you the motivation to, you know, live for me, right? Your whole lives seem to be based around me. So if you could just quickly make a quick video showing that you're a real person and not just another Israeli Team Jorge bot, you would at least gain like the tiniest bit of credibility. And I've been saying this for well over a year. Somebody just make a quick video. Why is that so difficult? Why don't you just quickly make the video as to why pedophiles shouldn't be killed, why we shouldn't stop the genocide, why, you know, Trump is a good guy, you know, all you Trump supporters who are clearly pedophiles, explain why that's not true, anything like that. Title it Guy Williams Sucks, and I'll show the feed. I'll watch it on here so everybody can see it, and they can see that you're a real person and that you're not just an Israeli bot or an Israeli or a J. And not only has no one taken me up on that, the only one that supposedly did was actually 2 pages that posted the same video. So they must have been working together. Which the pages were specifically geared towards me. One was the anti-guy page, and the other one was the J something or other. I don't remember. And they had, 5 different videos posted. 4 of which were like 30-second clips of just random Israeli propaganda bullshit. But the 5th video was a 5-minute compilation video of years worth of my videos. Little 5-10-second clips of me saying one thing or another that hurt their feelings. Put into a compilation video. Like, to think about how much effort it took to have all of these different little, you have all of my old videos saved and time-stamped so that you can, you know exactly where these little clips are. Otherwise, you went through and just watched a shit ton of my videos and found all these clips, I guess. I don't really know. I think that as crazy as it sounds, the first option is less crazy. But you put together this video with a whole bunch of clips of me saying things, and then in between the clips was a bunch of Israeli propaganda, while a song played over the top of it. So if I played it on my feed, it would trigger the censorship. Like, I've never been more flattered in my life that anybody would take that much time and effort and energy to make a 5-minute compilation video instead of just a 5-minute shit talk video. And then to present it to me like, yeah, see, we did it. We made the video about you. You keep saying we won't do it. We made the video. Only for it to be that bullshit? You are right. This is me getting my sun and fresh air. The little bit that I can do. This is it. Generally, this wipes me out for the day. But at least you know. Just think about it, man. Think about any of the things I'm saying. Tell me about anything I'm wrong about. Anything. Show me the video that you guys have made about other people. Show me another video that any of you have made about another truther where you have all their videos saved and time-stamped, and you put together a compilation video along with a bunch of Israeli propaganda for some strange reason. Show me how that makes sense. Show me the video you made. Because I know, me personally, I've never made a video about anyone. That is just fucking weird. It's enough trying to make videos about myself, let alone me making a video about someone else's live feed? Are you kidding me? Not even like an Alex Jones, just some regular person's live feed? Not to mention, I happen to have all these Israeli propaganda videos queued up and ready to go. Who the fuck do you think is behind that? Tell me how that makes sense in any sort of normal way. I would love to hear people's explanations. Why not record something while you're sober? Because, I'm so wasted. But it's because of pain. This is painful. This takes a lot out of me. So there's a reason behind things. But if I'm so compromised, why don't you just tell me what I'm wrong about? I mean, it's all right here. It's all for you to see it. It's not hidden. It's not, none of this shit is surprising or some secret conspiracy. It's all right here, right in front of you. I would highly suggest all of you look up AIPAC and just look at the narrative you're given about AIPAC on Wikipedia. Look at how openly they admit to controlling things. Just like this one here. This is another one of these articles that you should all know about. Team Jorge. This is one Israeli black ops organization where there are hundreds, if not thousands, right? Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm-run social media campaigns, disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. Oh, we've got this person who keeps saying King Trump, so they're basically acknowledging their pedophile, their pedophile origins, their pedophile motivations. If you still support Trump in this day and age, it's because you're a pedophile. But again, this is the bot farm social media disinformation campaign to manipulate the outcomes of elections. So it's not like they could just fuck with a YouTube page. That's difficult. Disrupting presidential level elections, that's child's play. Anybody can do that. To assert that they are using this same technology against me is, that's just crazy. The group was exposed in February of 2023. Such an interesting year 2023 was for Israel, huh? And of course, you didn't hear about this story on mainstream media. This is a story that literally proves that Israel interferes with social media. Basically controls it. And not one mainstream news station picked it up. This is based on a bunch of articles from low-level media sources. And actually, I would really suggest that you read the actual stories done, because there's more details in there. And it's just it just shows you exactly what we're dealing with. But the group was exposed by an undercover operation of journalists from Israel and France as part of a consortium of journalists, which included France, Germany, Indonesia, Israel, Kenya, Spain, Tanzania, and the United States. The organization has been active since at least 2015, just before, on paper, just before Trump lost the election by 2,700,000 plus votes. 2,700,000 plus more people voted for Hillary than Trump. And that AIPAC controlled swamp that Trump swore up and down he was going to drain. Just like how he said he was going to lower the gas prices and food prices. He could end the wars with one phone call. Just like he made those empty promises. That same swamp that he swore he was going to drain put him in anyway. And then Hillary just bounced like, all right, see ya. She didn't have anything to say about it. And you still believe it's all organic. Active since at least 2015 and boasts of having manipulated 33. If you know anything about truther stuff and Illuminatis and all that, you know how significant the number 33 is and how often they use it. To manipulate 33 presidential elections worldwide, many of them in Africa, white people, don't worry. Even though many only means 4 or more, so 4 or more in Africa, and in 27 cases with successful results. 27 times out of the 33 times they tried to manipulate a presidential level election, they were successful. Do you understand how insane that is? That is just, if you were a baseball player and you hit the ball 27 out of 33 times, you'd be the unquestioned GOAT. if that was your batting average, 27 out of 33, you're going to hit it. You would be considered the all-time greatest player by far. Baseball players hit in the like 20%, 30% baseball player. If you're hitting 31%, 3 out of 10 times, you're leading the league. You're like unbelievable. These guys successfully manipulated presidential level of elections 27 out of 33 times. And don't worry, there's nothing to see here. This is just, I'm just making shit up. So, their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv, carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal, T-A-L, Hanan, H-A-N-A-N, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative, in which he explained the inner workings of the organization. He said that they'd been active for at least 2 decades. Makes more sense. And has been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. Their services have been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. Again, I'm just probably barking up the wrong tree here, right, guys? Right? How about this part? One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. The software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, you name it. Sucker Dick has done many interviews where he brags about how good Facebook is at going after bot farms, and how they spent a lot of energy, effort, time, and removed 1,000 bot farm profiles out of China, or 800 out of the Philippines. Right? In the article, the part left out of this Wikipedia entry is that they claimed they could generate, back in 2022, that they could generate 30,000 bot profiles at a time to either bolster or attack anyone they wanted to. And this is an Israeli technology, right? This is an Israeli software. This isn't a Team Jorge specialty. Imagine if they had, say, 10 of these Israeli black ops organizations running this software that could generate 30,000 profiles at a time. That's 300,000 profiles they could either attack with or make a star out of somebody with. And considering I've been doing this for a very long time, and I get numbers that somebody with my meager with my meager amount of subs, who is talking about things we're not supposed to talk about. Like, I shouldn't get the numbers I get. To think that they haven't caught wind of me yet is, again, just sort of foolishness. Because, again, I don't know how else you explain it. How else do you explain that there are just all of these random people with these fake profiles that have been active for 12 years but have 0 subscribers? What are the chances that you have all of these random profiles that literally will, set alarms so they can be here for the entire feed, day after day, week after week, month after month, doing nothing but trying to talk shit about the guy who thinks we should kill pedos? How else do you subscribe? How else do you explain it? What else would it be? If it's not Israeli pedos, then who else is going to be this angry at me? It's interesting how all of the people that talk bad about Israel say the same sort of things. They talk about how they're interfered with, how they get throttled, how they're not allowed to do this, or they all say the same things. And yet again, they're all lying. They're all lying in the same unique way. Totally makes sense. Never mind all of the obvious information. I make a point to not use there's a reason why I use Wikipedia and don't actually go to the Team Jorge articles. There's a reason why I don't make it difficult for people to find what my source is. Multiple reasons. The main reason being that I know Wikipedia is what they want us to watch, right? Wikipedia is where they want us to get our information from. And for those that don't want to acknowledge it, here you go. Here is the IsraelNationalNews.com, and former Prime Minister, future Prime Minister at the time of the recording in 2010, Naftali Bennett, the guy who started My Israel that I read you about. This is an Israeli Special Forces operative. This is an agent.
Moetzet Yesha, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here
All right. So I just think that is an important piece of footage. As far as evidence goes, I'm providing you with evidence. Nobody's ever contradicting what I'm saying or providing me with anything to the contrary. I'm providing you with evidence. And actually, speaking of which, I wanted to talk about this. I saw this video yesterday that mentioned this. And so I looked it up, but I didn't read any of it. I wanted to see if it was real. When I saw that it was real, I decided I would wait and read it, with you guys, out in the open without any pregame. So this is called Operation Plumbat. Operation Plumbat was an Israeli covert operation in 1968 to obtain yellow cake processed uranium ore to support the Israeli nuclear weapons effort. France stopped supplying Israel with uranium fuel for the Nimona nuclear reactor after the 1967 Arab-Israeli War, which is not that. It's the 1967 slaughter of Arabic people, of Arabs. Israel doesn't lose people in these conflicts. Oh, now we're going back to mental health again. Desperately looking for some sort of response because, my mental delusions have projected onto Wikipedia to make this actual thing here. Instead of engaging in what's being said, holy shit, I didn't know this was a thing. Wait a minute, can you read more? Nope, it's I need my medication because of my mental delusions that encourage me to read. This is the best that they can do. Wikipedia is not an encyclopedia. See, Wikipedia is never a good enough source when I'm reading these things. And the funny thing is, like, this is the narrative that we're supposed to know. This isn't like some conspiracy theory narrative. This is, a Wikipedia entry. I'm not sitting here, trying to justify some, aliens exist bullshit or some Jesus exists bullshit. I'm literally reading you what they want us to know. And I just showed you how this is exactly what Israel wants us to know. In 2010, Israel sent a team to the Wikipedia fucking headquarters where they, quote, taught the editors how to edit in Wikipedia, because even though they were the #1 source of information in the world, they didn't know how to edit their own thing. And just in case you weren't quite clear what he meant, he gave the example that if you search something, the Gaza flotilla, they want to be there. They want to influence what is read and how it is written so that it has a balanced, so it's balanced and Zionist in nature. Like, if I don't 100% believe everything you read on Wikipedia is true, I do believe it's what they want us to know. And again, anyone that thinks like anybody can just edit Wikipedia, anybody could just edit Wikipedia. If anybody could edit Wikipedia, they could destroy Wikipedia. They could go in, click edit, select all, delete, and save, and then all of the work that was put into that page would be gone. And they could do that over and over again and totally decimate Wikipedia if that was the case. But you can't just edit Wikipedia. It's not how it works. Numerous sources believe that in 1968, Israel managed to obtain 200 tons. It's different. It's not the same thing as tons. I think tons is like 2,200 pounds or something. I don't remember what it is. Of yellow cake meringue, 200 tons of yellow cake from the Belgian mining company Union Minerais, which shipped processed uranium mined in Shrinkolop in the present-day Haute Katanga province of the Democratic Republic of Congo, out of Antwerp to Genoa for a European front company. By transferring the ore to another vessel at sea, this Mossad covert operation violated Euratom customs or Euratom controls of nuclear materials. The name Operation Plumbat is derived from the Latin plumbum, meaning lead or lead. Is it lead or I think it might be lead. Yeah, meaning lead, and is a reference to the labeling of the drums used to transport the yellow cake. Mossad agents arranged to set up a fictitious company called Biscayne Trader Shipping Corporation in Liberia to purchase an ocean freighter. This became Scheersburg. Scheersburg is a town, Scheersburg is a town in northern Germany near the border with Denmark. With the assistance of a friendly official at the German petrochemical company, $3.7 million was paid to Union Minerais for 200 tons of yellow cake uranium. The yellow cake was leftover inventory from uranium mined from Shrinkolobwi in Upper Katanga. Never heard of Katanga. This was loaded into the newly renamed freighter, and a contract was arranged with an Italian paint company for the yellow cake to be processed. The cargo was loaded in November 1968 in barrels marked Plumbat, a harmless lead product. The Spanish crew were replaced by sailors recruited by Mossad and forged passports provided. The freighter sailed for Genoa on November 17th. Approximately 7 days into her voyage, she rendezvoused with an Israeli freighter under cover of darkness, somewhere east of Crete. The cargo was transferred in near silence whilst Israeli gunboats kept watch nearby. After loading, the Israeli freighter set to sail towards Haifa, and eventually the tunnel. What's the tunnel? A 6-level automated chemical plant for processing fuel rods into plutonium in Dimona. Oh, okay. Shrewsbury A docked in Turkey 8 days later without any cargo to deliver. The contract with the Italian paint company was canceled. Several pages were missing from the ship's log, and no explanation was offered. The Italian paint company assumed the cargo had been lost to hijack or piracy. In 1973, suspected Mossad operative Dan Ert was arrested in Norway, alleged to have helped assassinate Ahmed Bunchishki, a waiter mistaken for one of the Palestinian terrorists who had killed 11 Israeli athletes at the 1972 Olympic Games in Munich. So this is how you know that this has the Israeli spin on it, right? Because no Palestinians, no bad guys, no one but Israel killed those hostages in the 72 Olympics. Israel did that. It was the Israelis who shot down those helicopters. It wasn't, they weren't, it wasn't the Palestinians, definitely wasn't the Palestinian terrorists. Ert recounted the story whilst in prison as a way of proving to the Norwegians he was a Mossad operative. The story seemed more credible once it was found that Ert had been listed as president of the Liberian shipping company used to purchase Shrewsbury A. In 1977, the Plumbat affair was leaked by Paul Leventhal, a former U.S. Senate attorney, at a disarmament conference. He said the stolen yellow cake shipment was enough to run reactors such as Dimona for up to 10 years. Israeli officials at first were silent when inquiries were made, then issued all aspects of the story that is real. A factual book called The Plumbat Affair by Elaine Davenport, Paul Eddy, and Peter Gilman, published in 1978 by Futura Publications. The book Operation Uranium Ship by Menachem Portugali, Dennis Eisenberg, and Ellie Landau, published in 1978 by Signet Books, claims to provide details. The 1979 book Triple by Ken Follett, also by Signet, is a fictional recreation of the events. That's fucking interesting. How many of you guys knew about this shit? I guess probably none of you. I mean, I didn't know about it till yesterday. I saw a video on this yesterday, and I was shocked. I mean, it's not shocked that it happened. I guess it's not even shocking that it's not surprising, I should say. It is shocking, but it's not surprising. It's definitely not surprising that it was covered up. Looks like I lost a like. Wah, wah. I have to keep asking you guys, who has just heard that story, right? So I'm supposed to believe that regular Americans just heard that account, that narrative that's given to us. And instead of being like, holy shit, we really need to stop giving these people $3.8 billion a year of our tax dollars, along with billions more throughout the year. We need to cut the strings of all the dual Israeli citizens that run our government. Instead of saying anything along those lines, it's just dumb shit, right? It's just so crazy to me. They literally hijacked a huge shipment of uranium and there were no consequences for it. I mean, it's and it's well documented. How doesn't anybody understand how serious this is? Yeah, gotta love the trailer in the middle of the neighborhood. We just have our trailer just parked right in the middle and everybody's like, man, we hate your trailer. Seriously, who is going to do this? Other than Israeli operatives that are working behind the scenes, who is going to continuously try to attack someone that's doing what I'm doing? Other than pedophiles, who is going to oppose the guy that thinks we should kill pedophiles? And spend a shit ton of effort and energy into trying to interfere with me telling people that. You know, who also happens to be really good at working in the shadows, using fake accounts, creating fake accounts, you know, navigating the backdoor channels of the internet. Who do you think is good at that? A Jew gets yelled at on a college campus and it's national outrage. Pam Bondi said something about it. I mean, it's the truth. Do you guys understand that, like, that there's a hotline or something that they can call that anytime somebody says something they don't like, they call and report it to this hotline, which then gets put into the National Register as hate crimes. So then they, according to the narrative, there's all these hate crimes against them throughout the year. When really it's only people saying shit they don't like. Do you think, like, if there was actually violence happening from all the protests, and trust me, all those college protests are still happening. All those university protests are still happening. Just because it's not being talked about every day on the news like it should be, doesn't mean it's not happening. But if any of those protests were violent against some Jewish kids, it would be national news. That would be the only thing we would hear about for weeks. And this has been going on for, you know, well over a year. And yet there's still no violent outrage that can be pointed to other than when American authorities attack the children of the richest, most powerful people, the only people who can send their kids to Harvard and Columbia and shit like that. These kids doing constitutionally protected activities, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to protest or the right to assemble, freedom of press, and the right to redress your government grievances with your government. They're literally, you know, doing all of the First Amendment. And they're being attacked by who? Who are those police officers that are just capable of doing that? Nobody ever tries to find out those identities, do they? Because again, you would think, like, wouldn't cops, American cops, you know, who swear an allegiance to the Constitution, who you know, like, absolutely have other things to be doing, shouldn't be attacking kids who are saying things that this one small group that only makes up 2 to 3% of the United States population, that they get offended by the fact that this group of college kids is protesting the fact that a different country is committing genocide against a much smaller population, using the weapons and materials that we give them, taking our tax dollars, and like everything they're doing is right. And this is what you see, right? When you tell people that even doing it the quote right way, where they're following all the rules, they're not, for years you would hear about how black people were wrong because, they would finally be pushed to the point where they would riot. How dare they riot? Never thinking like, what could possibly push people to the point where they would riot and burn up their own shit? They would have to be pretty upset to be that and frustrated to be that far, and ignoring the fact that countless letters have been written, countless demonstrations have been done peacefully and by the books. But when you start arresting people for doing things by the books and doing it the way that we're told we're allowed to do it, well, then you open the door for worse. You told us that if we did it the wrong way that we would be attacked. So now we're following every rule you want followed and you're still attacking us? Well, fuck, let's at least attack back. And that's all you've seen. That's the only violence that they can ever seem to focus on whenever they try to spin the story that the protesters were being violent today. It's because they were attacked. But are they just supposed to sit there and let themselves be attacked? Well, that's what Martin Luther King did. He was such a good goyim. Fucking Agent King. I only have one thing to say about that. You're standing on the roof. You're standing on the second balcony with your buddy who is an outspoken person who has been getting death threats and all this other shit. All of a sudden, a gunshot rings out. Dude's head explodes and he falls down, dead. Are you going to stand there and point to where the gunshot came from? Or are you going to hide, not knowing if more gunshots are going to ring out, not knowing if there's a second shooter, anything like that, until the police come and give you the all clear? Which one are you going to do? You're going to stand there and point like Jesse Jackson and all those people did for the camera that happened to be there? No. Just like if you're sitting at the Republican National Convention and suddenly gunshot rings out and Trump goes down and you're sitting in the bleachers right behind him, you're going to run. You're going to try to get the fuck out of there. You don't know what's happening. You don't know if there's a second shooter. You don't know if there's an explosive device. You're going to get the fuck out of there. But just like there are no live feeds or cell phone videos of the Trump shooting, the videos you do see shows everybody just sitting there, watching what's happening. I think it's weird too that the shooter, okay, so initially there was Red Shirt Joseph, the guy who just wanted to be known as Joseph, had the red shirt on, and he was interviewed. And he said, without a doubt, the shooter came from Trump's 9 o'clock. Right? From like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, where Trump was. It had to have come from behind him and to the left, from back and to the left, because the one guy who got killed, the innocent bystander who got killed, he said he saw him get killed, and he saw that his head exploded, and he saw that the spray went, like he saw what happened, and he said he heard it, and that the gunfire had to come from Trump's left, and that guy was in between Trump and the shooters. It had to be that way. But you're told that the shooter was to Trump's 1 o'clock. And even though he turned his head like this to look down, somehow the bullet still grazed his ear. and yet didn't hit anybody behind him either. Isn't that weird? There's this really great video made by a bunch of like soldiers and shit. Real conspiracy theorists are stupid, right? And they use one of those jelly mold model human with the fake bones and the fake everything that's supposed to represent what a human body looks like. It's how they test ballistics and they test, you know, impacts and shit. They've made a very realistic human dummy. They had a head made, and these were expert snipers, and they used what I guess was the same gun at the same distance, and because rumors were going around online that there's no way Trump's head would still be attached. If he got hit by it would have blown his head clean off, blah, 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 blah. And they just think that's hilarious, so they're going to prove it differently. So the first shot they make, it hits down here. And it just barely nicks it. And although the damage is significant, it's not, you know, they're like, yeah, see, the head's still on. They're high-fiving and shit. The first shot. The second shot hit right here. And this time, in slow motion, you can see it like blows his fucking ear. The thing explodes. The damage to the tissue just explodes out. And there's ripples all through his face. And he would have he would have been easily knocked unconscious if he got hit that hard. It would have blown his ear to bits. He wouldn't today still have an ear that doesn't look like anything happened to it like his does. But this time, they're all like, yeah, but his head's still on. And they're like, yeah, yeah. Like all the enthusiasm is sucked out. And at one point, one of the guys goes, well, I do think it is kind of weird that the impact created such significant and then it just cuts. It doesn't let him finish out his thought as to what the fuck happened, because it's clear that if a sniper round even nicked his ear, it would have blown his shit completely off. It would have knocked his head, you know, to the side. The one guy was like, oh, it's just the equivalent of just getting tapped on the sides, just getting tapped. And it's funny how every time they try to do something to prove conspiracy theorists are crazy, they end up proving themselves even worse. It was nuts. All these comments. If I just needed attention, like somebody in the comments desperately trying to get me to acknowledge them, why wouldn't I just sell you guys Jesus? If I was one of these idiots out here talking about Jesus is good, God is great, God is good, let us thank him for our food, amen and shit. If I was sitting here pushing the Jesus narrative, especially with my oratory abilities, I could probably be a pretty wealthy televangelist, to say the least. Plus, I would have all the loving attention I need. Why would I bring negative attention to myself? It's not like it has any sort of financial benefits. You know, I could make a shit ton more money selling Jesus. Instead, I put myself in this position that basically guarantees that I'll never be allowed to be successful. You know, I say the things we're not allowed to say. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how deep you are into the conspiracy world or not. Everybody knows there's one group of people we're not allowed to talk about. $10 says he doesn't even vote. Yeah, no, I'm not stupid enough to say, be given the choice. Here, we're going to slap you with the left hand or slap you with the right hand. And then I'm like, well, here, let me ask you this. Are you left or right-handed? And they say, well, we're right-handed, of course. And you go, well, I'm going to pick the left side because I don't think you can slap as hard with that because I'm smart. Look, left side, go on. Go on, do it. No, I'm not dumb enough to vote. Anybody that still votes after 2016, when Trump lost the election by 2,700,000 votes, and then the swamp that he promised, the apex swamp he promised to drain, put him in office anyway. If you still think voting matters, yep, I'm the idiot. You are correct. It's so funny, man. It's so funny the shit that people say, thinking it makes them look good. Yeah, he doesn't even vote. He talks about it, but he doesn't even do it. They tell us we're supposed to do it. He doesn't do it. 2016, they showed us our vote doesn't matter. And then in 2020, well, we're all locked down and we're not allowed to go see our loved ones in the old folks' homes, and we can't have family gatherings, and people are losing their businesses, and we're walking around like fucking hamsters and like the costumes and shit. We highlight a lot of those costumes in the song COVID Sauce video. But the insanity that took place over COVID. And we're still told, as much as that is, as bad as that is, you're not allowed to see loved ones. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. The one thing you do need to do, though, is vote. Get out there and vote. Commercial after commercial. Black people sitting in the barber shop, because, you know, that's where black people hang out, at the barber shop. Sitting at the barber shop, talking about, hey, dog, you know this stuff is whack, right, son? Yeah, homie. But see, we can't be complaining about it if we ain't out there voting, son. You right, homie. You right. Dap me up, dog. I'm gonna go vote, son. At the time, the news is running story after story about 300-year-old Margaret Tannebick was driven 900 miles by her neighbor so she could come in here and stand in line and vote today. Why'd you come this way, Margaret? Well, voting is the most important thing that we can do as people. Okay, thanks, Margaret. Anybody who votes at this point is just fucking stupid. You're fucking stupid. The best thing that we could do with the next election is have a 95% no-show. You know, they expect X amount of people to show up and 95% less don't. And instead we boycott the election. That would actually do something. That would actually say something. I mean, they would just do what they wanted to do anyway. But if you think the Electoral College needed to step in 2016 for the third time in modern history, the first two times being when George Bush Jr. won both times, because, you know, every other time we're able to pick the president correctly. Every other time, the person that gets the most amount of votes wins. Any other election around the world, anything that's like that, if it's an election, the person with the most amount of votes wins. Just not in 2016. Just not those other two times George Bush Jr. won. You know, we can't have California picking the president. Any other time it's fine, but this time, no sir, can't have that. fucking silly, man. Sydney Sweetie has great genes. Oh, that's white supremacy. Wah. Oh, this shit regarding that's like the idea that we are so sensitive that we're upset about the Sydney Sweeney commercial, yet there's a genocide taking place, and it's like, well, don't talk about that. Come on. Why you gotta ruin the mood? If you're mad about the Sydney Sweeney jeans commercial and you're not, furious about the genocide, you could just fuck yourself. He's desperate for attention, so he'll say anything. Yep, again, except for, I could just be like, holy shit, you guys. Last night, I was in my room, I had fallen asleep, and I woke up and Jesus was standing before me, blazing in a golden light, saying, my son, you have forsaken me. Why have you not followed Christ? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I guess I didn't know, I didn't believe. And he said, well, now you believe, and I charge you with carrying my word. And I come live, and I'm like, guys, I had this, Jesus appeared. And how long do you think it would be before the news would show up? How long do you think it would be before I'd get national attention, especially being the person? Jesus said to me, I shouldn't take down anything I've put up in the past because I need to show people how far someone could be away from Christ only to come to Christ. Do you know how much attention I could get from that? Do you know how much money I would make from that? I'd probably be able to do a video that has 23 likes and more than 29 watchers. Because that just makes sense. I could definitely get a lot more attention than what I get here for talking bad about it. Apparently, all you pedos out there don't like somebody talking bad about you. You ain't good at making money, my dude. You ain't good. Yup. Here we go. Like, again, I guess this person's so dumb they don't even understand what was just said. But that's, like I've said for the longest time, right? It's not the Trump supporter. I mean, it's not Trump. It's not the Pope. It's not Biden. It's not any of these characters that we're given. It's all the people who fall for it. You have these cowards like Petey here, little Peter, who can't acknowledge why he's here. He's here every day for hours at a time. And he can't for the life of me or anyone. He can't tell you why. What is it that motivates you, little Peter? Apparently you're mad at the guy who thinks we should kill pedos, who thinks we should eliminate the J control scheme. It's like a bunch of 12-year-olds in the chat. What do you think? Like, seriously, when you watch movies that are like it's just so obvious who controls Hollywood, right? And when you look at how cheesy all that shit from the 80s and the 70s and shit, especially the comedy stuff, especially the stuff where it was all about the Jewish guy who's like the head guy and, he's telling the jokes or, even stuff like Spaceballs and stuff like that. Those parody movies that only they are allowed to make, or like Weird Al Yankovic is only allowed to say. What they think is funny. It's like how many of you like musicals? How many of you like going to the plays and shit like that? How many of you like shit like Fiddler on the Roof? Nobody. Nobody's like, oh yeah, that shit's the bomb. I think it's so. I love the idea of people just breaking out into random song and everybody knows the words and you know, the unrealistic idea of it. But that's their thing. That's their style, their theater. And that's why like independent shit is so popular now, because they have this very small formula they can work by. And outside of that, it falls flat, like, and it gets run into the ground. Just like the whole idea of like a Jewish comedian, right? You compare Jewish comedians to Dave Chappelle, to Patrice, to Cat Williams, to these genius philosophers, and you compare that to like a Jerry Seinfeld. And Seinfeld is one of the better ones, but like for decades, get comics like Artie, what's his name? You know, Ari Shaffir. I mean, all they have to do is, I want to be a comedian. Let me call Uncle Morty. Let me make some, you know. They don't have to earn it like the black guy that has to truly be funny. Chappelle is a genius beyond measure. Like, his way of looking at things is amazing. And it's funny because, you know, Chappelle is famous in the arena where, again, there's social media and shit like that. To me, guys like Richard Pryor, guys like Red Fox, those guys aren't funny at all. Richard Pryor wasn't funny at all. If anybody wants to tell me a comedy special or something that I can watch of Richard Pryor's, I would love to see it. Because I've watched several, I've listened to several, and he's not funny. He's what they think is funny. He plays into what the stereotypes and how they like to laugh at black people. He plays into it. Well, the whole, this is how black guys are and this is how white guys are. You know, he was real big on that. And the thing is, when you look into Richard Pryor's narrative, it's suspicious. It's you know, it's just really crazy. This is a guy who almost immediately was just given spotlight, given the Sullivan Show, you know, given all this opportunity. Why? You know, he supposedly grew up in this whorehouse. He was arrested. He was, and his narrative again is like, it's just, I'll prove it to you. Let's prove it. You go ahead and you tell me how any of this makes it makes sense. Red Fox wasn't funny either. Sanford is just, yeah, let's make a comedy about an old stupid black guy and his son who still lives with him, and they live in the junkyard. That's funny. All right. Richard, Franklin, Lennox, Thomas, Pryor. Gee, that's weird. Almost like there's something else going on here. Richard, Franklin, Lennox, Thomas, Pryor. 5 names. Born December 1st, 1940. Died December 12th, 2005. Was an American stand-up comedian and actor known for reaching a broad audience with a style, blah, 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 blah. I don't care about this. Spouses. Patricia Price, 60 to 61, divorced. Shelley R. Bonus, 67 to 69. Deborah McGuire, 77 to 78. Jennifer Lee, 81 to 82, and then married again in 2001. Flynn Beline, 86 to 87, and then 90 to 91. Now, if you don't think Richard Pryor is a gay guy, again, I don't know what you're looking at. So the idea that these that he had to have a new beard every few years to keep that under wraps isn't that surprising. 7 children, including Rain Pryor, who anybody who ever saw that broad and thought we should put her on TV must have got the joke, I guess. Because it wasn't like she was a good actress or even like kind of good looking. Oh, I never knew this. Ludacris, second cousin once removed. So there you go. There's how Ludacris had his door in, his foot in the door. You can always find it. Pryor's body of work include numerous concert films and recordings. He won the Grammy Award for Best Comedy Album. That N-Bomb's Crazy. Ha ha! Isn't that a funny title? Ha! Oh, the title is That N-Bomb's Crazy. Isn't that funny, you guys? Oh. Is it something I said in 1975? Bicentennial N-bomb in 76. Bicentennial N-bomb. Richard Pryor, live on the Sunset Strip, 1982. Richard Pryor, Here and Now, 83. By the 80s, we weren't using that anymore. He had gotten big enough that he didn't have to label himself like that. So let's look. This is probably really going to be interesting, right? Pryor was born on December 1st, 1940 in Peoria, Illinois. He grew up in a brothel run by his mother, by his grandmother, because, you know, those blacks and their whores and their... Oh, yeah. Like, if the Jays are going to create a black guy that they let get to stardom, especially back in this time, here it is. By his grandmother Marie Carter, where his alcoholic mother, Gertrude, was a prostitute. Makes sense, right? His father, Leroy Buck Carter. So wait. His nickname was Buck Carter. Was he Marie's kid? Because it went Marie Carter, where his alcoholic mother, so who knows? Leroy Buck Carter Pryor, June 7th, 1915 to September 27th, 1968, was a former boxer, hustler, and pimp. He was a pimp. Pryor... Huh? And invented stuff. We're gonna give him stardom, but let's give him a story that, you know, we can laugh at. Okay. After Gertrude abandoned him when he was 10, Pryor was raised primarily by Marie, a tall, violent woman who would beat him for any of his eccentricities. Pryor was one of 4 children raised in his grandmother's brothel. He was sexually abused at age 7 and expelled from school at age 14. So is this the part where we just start jumping? Pryor served in the U.S. Army from 58 to 60. But spent virtually the entire stint in an army prison. Oh man. According to a 1999 profile article about Pryor in the New Yorker, Pryor was incarcerated for an incident that occurred while he was stationed in West Germany. Oh, that's it? It's just for an incident that occurred? When they don't give you the details, it really makes you wonder what it is, huh? Like, why was Chuck Berry so popular when he was a pretty open pedophile? Angered that a white soldier... Oh, not another one. What is this? Another one! Go! No! That's clearly her sister, brother. Angered that a white soldier was overly amused at the racially charged scenes of Douglas Smirk's film Imitation of Life, Pryor and several other black soldiers beat and stabbed him, although the soldiers survived. They almost killed a white guy for laughing at black guys. What? He was so he was convicted of attempted murder while in the military and only served 2 years. So now it just jumps to he was a member of Henry Brown Lodge number 22 in Peoria, where he became a Prince Hall Freemason. Oh, well, that's a strange little segue, don't you think? He went from It says in 3 paragraphs, there's actually more about him growing up in the brothel with his alcoholic mother and his pimp father and his abusive, alcoholic, violent grandmother who beat him and blah, blah, blah. And then he was just expelled from school at 14. That's it. Like these are these prominent points in his life. He was sexually abused at age 7 and expelled from school at age 14. Nothing else important happened there. And then from 14 to 18, who knows? I mean, I'm sure there's more in like his real biography, maybe. But then he's just suddenly in the military, where I guess almost immediately he almost kills a guy. He stabs a guy and beats a guy along with another group of people. Now this is what 50s, from 58 to 60. So the idea of black men beating and stabbing a white man for laughing at a movie just doesn't sound like something the black guy only serves 2 years for. If the narrative that I'm given about history has any truth to it, that's a weird little coincidence there, I guess. So he does his stint from 58 to 60, where, again, all we find out is that the guy survived, and then we immediately jump to not how old he was or anything or when this happened, but he was a member of the Henry Brown Lodge number 22 in Peoria, where he became a Prince Hall Freemason. Interestingly, the crazy conspiracy theories out there would have you believing that the Prince Hall Freemasons have something to do with things like this. From 63 to 69, early performances. So 3 years later, after being just released from the military, I guess, let out of military prison for almost killing a white dude. 3 years later, he moves to New York and began performing regularly in clubs alongside performers such as Bob Dylan and Woody Allen. That's a fucking amazing thing right there. On one of his first nights, he opened for singer and pianist Nina Simone in New York's Village Gate. Simone recalls Pryor's bout of performance anxiety. Why would he be opening for Nina Simone like immediately? He was just that fucking funny? And see, that's the thing. Okay, so you tell me that's what it is. He was just that good that he just rose through the ranks like that. Okay, go watch his first comedy specials. You tell me why he is so funny. You know, this guy. This step and fetch it kind of guy. He shook like he had malaria. He was so nervous, I couldn't bear to watch him shiver. So I put my arms around him there in the dark and rocked him like a baby until he calmed down. The next night was the same, and the next, and I rocked him each time. So instead of getting ready for her own stuff, she's over here babying this new guy? Like, how does this make sense to anybody? Initially inspired by Bill Cosby, Pryor began as a middle-brow comic with material less controversial than what was to come. He began appearing regularly on television variety shows such as the Ed Sullivan Show, the Merv Griffin Show, and the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Because that's just what happened for black comics back in the day, right? His popularity led to success as a comic in Las Vegas. The first 5 tracks on the 2005 CD compilation, Evolution Revolution, The Early Years, recorded in 66 and 67, captured Pryor in this period. So, within 3 years of moving to New York, this scrawny, goofy-looking, homosexual black man is on the Tonight Show? Or actually, no, because this is, by 66 is when he's getting his album deals. So he's already been on the Tonight Show, the Sullivan Show, and the Griffin Show a few different times. So he's basically like, he opens for Nina Simone and then suddenly is just catapulted into superstardom. I look like the comic book guy? Well, that's carbon copy, yeah. I'm super fat, you know? And see, again, you would think like normal people would be like, that is kind of weird. That doesn't seem to be how showbiz worked, especially for black guys back then. But it's the same, it's the Kevin Hart story. Except I don't think Kevin Hart has the abuse. But it is the Cat Williams story. And Cat Williams, as brilliant as he is, what people seem to forget is the Epstein shit had basically gone away. They had basically gotten rid of it. You know, they paid Virginia Giuffre off, and people had just, you know, other than crazy people like me, who still to this day, it's funny how it works too, but they had made it all go away. And then the Biden administration released what they said was the Epstein list. Turned out it was like 1,000 pages of randomly sort of shuffled papers that once people started going through were like, hey, this isn't a list, this is just weird shit. And it's funny too how that grouping of paperwork hasn't been brought back up since it all happened. But it was within about a week, maybe less, that when people started to actually, you know, go through this shit and put together that they'd been duped and like, why even tell us you're going to release it and then release this trash to us? There was no list. It was just crazy nonsense. Once everybody started complaining about the list, that this wasn't really a list, suddenly Cat Williams comes out of nowhere. And he's on the Club Shay Shay show. And what does he do? He turns all the attention onto black people. Number 2. When Kanye said he was going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews and he was going to, you know, and he could say anything he wanted, and that he was Semitic, and that, you know, Jews are in everyone's contracts, blah, blah, blah. The next interview he talked about Michael Jordan and LeBron and Beyonce and Jay-Z, and he did nothing but throw black people under the bus. And that's what Cat Williams did. This list comes out, and Cat mentions the list once on the show, but he's doing everything he can to get everybody to talk about Steve Harvey's dumbass, who is just a dumbass, no doubt about it. And you know, and literally like a truth, there is a true aspect to what he was saying. That's why it rang so true. That's why it resonated so well. But it was a total distraction. That's what they do. You know, that's how this whole thing operates. They love to bring the attention on to black people. And a guy like Richard Pryor is a great example of it. I mean, this guy lit himself on fire while freebasing, supposedly. Dude was clearly gay. They're never going to let somebody like a big, strong, you know, good-looking, you know, charismatic black guy reach the public, show people that, you know, black people are intelligent. Richard Pryor had to play this is my uncle, he's a junkie, and this is my this, he's a, you know. And Cat Williams literally has the same fucking story, that he left home at 11 years old or some shit and went down to Florida and slept in the park and was making $1,000 a day in Florida. And I mean, his narrative is just as fucking ridiculous. Why anyone would believe it is beyond me. But it's the same shit over and over again. They recycle the same narratives. Why wasn't Cat Williams specifically talking about all the J's? If he's really trying to fucking spill the tea, why isn't he talking about the J thing? Why is he trying to get the attention on black people? Because he's doing his job. Just like Kanye was doing his job. Just like all these commenters on here are doing their job. You're going to come to the page where you hear someone talking about we should kill pedos, we should overthrow the J's that control the narrative, we should unify, we should, you know, make the world a better place, and you talk shit. Who's going to do that? What sense does that make? You know, it's the same dumbass shit over and over again. People doing everything they can to avoid what's being said. Because they can't. What can they say? Anything they say that argues against me. Like literally, everything I talk about, I don't give you much room. If you argue against me, you're going to look pretty bad. So you don't. Instead, you just bring up dumb shit, thinking that that's not saying the exact same thing. Thinking that saying anything other than, yeah, man, you're right, we should be killing these pedos. Yeah, we should be overthrowing these disgusting Jays who run the show. You're saying anything other than that, you're supporting that. That's why Trump still has so many supporters, because so many pedophiles exist. They're just everywhere. You know, and they require your arrogance. They play off of your arrogance. You know, all you Christians out there who, again, you know, you think your thing is right. All the other things, you think those things are as crazy as I think your thing is. But you arrogantly think your thing is right for no fucking reason. You have literally, if you had proof, you'd be happy to say it. You'd be proud. You'd be climbing over yourself to say it. You know? No. Here, let me tell you about my thing. Let me tell you about my proof. Let me tell you. Instead, you fall apart every time somebody questions any of it. Anytime somebody says, hey, give me your reasoning. Tell me about your motivation. Tell me what makes you tick, what makes you operate, what makes you spend hours on my feed begging for my attention. And of course, that's always the one part of this that they can't answer. It's the one part of this that they're like, oh, well, you won't listen anyway, so I'm not going to say it. I'll say all sorts of other dumb shit, but I won't say this. And, you know, then when I subsequently say, well, it's clear that you're a pedophile, that would be the only reason why you would oppose me so much. It's not like you deny it. You just try to change the subject. This has been such an interesting journey, you guys. It's been so crazy to see like how horrible they want us to think about each other. You know, I'm supposed to not think that the average everyday person is a good person, and that the average everyday person is a Trump supporter, is somebody who is okay with pedophilia and all that other shit. And I know that there are a lot of you out there, but it's not nearly the percentage of people that are here. The people here are here because this is the best they can do. This is the best they can do. They're trying. They have a job to do, and they're trying to you know, make me look crazy and change the subject and all that other shit. If they had something they could say, they would. But this is the best they can do. And it's time we acknowledge it all. I'm telling you, they've been programming you this way since your dumbass parents pushed you to be a Christian, because that's what was pushed on them. If you're a Christian, you accept the J supremacy. Those are God's chosen people. What they want, what they need matters more than what you need. And you know, in the scheme of things, you don't want to upset the God by going against God's chosen people, so you just turn a blind eye. And that's literally how it's working right now. Those same people are committing genocide. Those same people are funneling money into Israel. They control our government, and they're funneling money into Israel so they can commit genocide. And you're just like, well, I don't want to upset the God. I don't want to make God mad. You know, I don't want to rock the boat too much. It's the same fucking program. You can see how it came to fruition. They've been playing the long game. Most of us, our lives are not great. So we want something to change in the short term so we can at least experience it. For them, they can play the long game because their lives are so great. It doesn't exactly have to work out the way they want it to, because it's working out good so far. And if it happens, 10, 20, 30 years from now, it's fine. I'm going to live good until then. But it's finally coming to fruition. You're seeing, well, it's not even true. It's been this way for decades. We just have access to it now in ways we never used to have access to it. Israel, the Israelis, they've been committing genocide, a slow, long game genocide for decades, for 77 years at this point, 76, 77 years. Jesus isn't real. He was just another televangelist. It's just a story. It's a nothing. The thing that happens when you get far enough into this, and it really, it's kind of shocking how out in the open and obvious it all is. But anytime, you can go to any downtown you want to, and you're going to see all sorts of buildings that don't make any sense. that when you look up the construction narrative, juxtaposed with what you think 1920s, 1900s, 18 fucking 50, what you think that looks like in your head, what you were told that was in your, growing up, it doesn't jive. And if you look up the oldest footage that you can find of any city, New York, Chicago, whatever, the oldest pictures you can find, you're going to see these sprawling cities, skyscrapers, huge buildings, you name it. And they're empty. The pictures don't show any people in them. There are castles, there are churches, there are star forts. Star forts are some of the biggest, there are catacombs. There are all these things the Palace of Versailles, there are all these things that exist. The architecture in Europe, in London and shit like that. Old London Bridge, look up Old London Bridge. You go look into the history that we're actually given and we're actually supposed to regurgitate. And it tells you a different narrative. It tells you that something else was going on. Tartaria is not a conspiracy theory. Tartaria absolutely existed. It's on maps. It's well documented. The Russian flag is clearly a fucking a Templar knight on a white horse stepping on the fucking Tartaria lizard. It's as obvious as it gets. But as far as like historical accuracy, Tartaria is absolutely on maps and in books and shit. Things like ice palaces and just all this crazy shit exists that should exist that we couldn't build now. Machu Picchu, the pyramids, the step wells all throughout, all of the architecture in India, just India itself, all of the old architecture. We can't do that. And we're supposed to believe that the people before us did it, whether it was, early 19s or way before that. We're supposed to believe that they were just capable of all this magical stuff. And somehow we're the pinnacle? No. So when you understand that they're lying to you about like this really obvious thing, like who built every city you live in? How did they build all of the underground shit? How did they build the subway system? They started planning the subway in New York in 1894, and they had it opened by 1904. They started planning, and it only took from planning to opening 10 years. What the fuck were they doing to build to burrow through the ground like that? To build a fucking subway system underneath the ground like that. And that's just the beginnings of it. The subway then, there's this video that exists. Damian Michaels does a great video on this. But he's actually showing this other video of this dude in New York who is showing you like what it takes to come up from the F train or whatever train it was. Let's see. How deep? God damn it. If I can find it. put Damian Michaels in, New York City subway pops up. That's weird. But his video doesn't. Anyway, it shows this guy. He goes up like he goes up 2 long ass escalators, and then has to climb up another flight of stairs, and then still has to climb up another couple flights of stairs to get to the streets. So he's basically like 100 feet down, maybe more. And you just think, well, how were they building that back in the early 1900s? It really doesn't make any sense. And so when you start to wrap your head around the fact that they're clearly lying to you about our recent history, about the purpose of the world wars. I think the purpose of the world wars was one, to establish Israel. They had to put the British in control of Palestine. They let the British, they let the Palestinians soften for 30 years. And they let them, completely rely on the British. The British were their protection. The British were their government. Couple of generations had passed where they just completely relied on the British. So when the World War II gave the excuse, and then, because for some reason the Palestinians have to pay for what the Germans supposedly did. Suddenly, all they have to do is say, British, turn around. The British didn't leave, they turned around, because the narrative is that the Israeli military came in and sort of kicked out all the Palestinians in the Nakba, but Israel didn't exist, so how could there be a military? They were establishing Israel. So the only way there was a military was the one that was already there, the Allies and the British that were in charge of Palestine. But the other reason for the world wars really does seem to be destroying shit, destroying evidence. Because if you look at pre-war photos, you're shown a landscape that, again, there's no concept of. These gigantic buildings with that are ornate top to bottom and just beautiful. We don't do that. And we don't do that because it's not cost effective. Bullshit. But when you start to realize that it's nothing but lies that we're being fed, and we've been fed this whole time, this is where the arrogance comes in. What makes you think you can pick and choose which things are real and which things are fake? Which narratives you're given are real? You hear about, like, Paul Revere, right? The ride of Paul Revere. Only to learn that he only did like a mile of that shit. Some Mexican guy did it. But that's not the narrative we're given. You're given this narrative of the British and, the Treaty of 1773, which apparently, it's one of these ones that doesn't get talked about, but it's where basically the British agreed the Crown agreed to pull back, and they just decided to make it seem like the war had ended and they had fixed things, when really the United States was just sort of signed over to the British, to the monarchy. And it was just the secret treaty that sort of put that all in motion to where, again, and that's only if you believe in 1773, 1776, and George Washington and all that. At this point, I don't believe any of it. Because why would I believe them? They've lied about everything. They're not telling me about Tartaria. They're not telling me about the advanced society that had fucking airships. That they had to use the Hindenburg bullshit to sort of kill off that narrative like it's some sort of dangerous thing. But airships were everywhere. We were able to do all kinds of shit long before we think we could. And so you understand that they're lying about all of it. That's where, you know, your arrogance comes into play. I believe I've shedded the arrogance. I don't believe that Christianity is the right one, but Islam isn't because of nothing. I think it's all bullshit. I don't believe, you know, they didn't, you know, Oswald didn't kill Kennedy, but what's his name, shot Reagan. Other three names, I forget all of, there's so many of them, you forget them all. I don't believe the Las Vegas narrative that when broken down doesn't make any sense. But you sit here and you act like you believe those things. Well, none of you believe that Oswald shot Kennedy. It's so obvious to everyone that there was a grassy knoll shooter, or maybe the driver did it, who knows. But the idea that Oswald fired off those 3 rounds in 8 seconds with a bolt-action rifle and then was found all this way away, like the whole narrative just doesn't make any sense. It's fucking stupid. Everybody knows it's stupid. And you're confident enough saying that your system is lying to you. But then you arrogantly believe that they're telling you the truth about 9/11? About how many of you have all of your vaccines? COVID came out, you ran out and got every booster shot they told you to get. I would imagine that's a really small percentage of you, because you arrogantly thought, well, I know I believe the system for this, this, and this, but I don't necessarily believe the system for this. That's arrogance. Who are you to decide which things are true and which ones aren't? Instead, why don't you say it's all bullshit until they prove it true? Until you know for a fact, without a shadow of a doubt, what they're saying to you is true. You know, a great one is, you guys, you know, so many of you don't believe Oswald, or don't fall for the Oswald shot Kennedy thing, or even the 9/11 thing, because it doesn't make any sense. But you still believe we live on a round ball flying through space. You still believe we went to the moon. And anybody that thinks like that thinks, you know, we didn't, well, those guys are crazy. Those people are crazy. They're not believing what they're supposed to believe. Well, who are you to decide that? It's a much safer practice to call it all bullshit, to not believe these J liars who literally believe us to be no different than cattle. We are here to service them. We are expendable. We are slaves. Every one of them should have 2,800 Gentile slaves beneath them. Why do you believe these people? These people who call themselves God's chosen people. It's the same fucking bullshit narrative manipulation in thing after thing after thing. Stop being arrogant and picking and choosing. Either you believe it all, you're either in the club, you follow all the rules, or you're not in the club. You do not get to pick and choose which things that you believe, especially when it comes to like your silly Bible and shit. All of you Christians, every single one of you, are going to hell. You knew you weren't supposed to have sex before you got married, but you did it anyway. You knew you weren't supposed to have sex for anything other than procreation measures, and you did it anyway. You don't just get to be like, oh, well, I'm sorry, and no, you're going to go to hell. Because you were arrogant enough to pick and choose, like, well, I think Jesus will just, I know it says I shouldn't do this, and I knew I shouldn't do it, but it also, well, I heard somebody say that as long as I say I'm sorry, I get to go to heaven. You don't. That's not how it works. That's why the church used to sell, what were they called? forget. It's not even on the tip of my tongue. I don't even remember it. But the church used to sell. You could give the church X amount of money, and they would either forgive something after you did it or beforehand. You could buy, you could buy your way out of it beforehand. Because just saying I'm sorry doesn't cut it. But like I say, you're all so fucking arrogant, you think that you can just pick and choose which parts you want to believe. Which parts you follow, which parts you don't. Any woman that wants to fucking even begin to speak to me about this shit, apparently you're not a good Bible, you're not a good Christian. You don't know your Bible, because 1 Timothy 2:11 says you need to shut your goddamn mouth. God doesn't permit you to speak or teach or speak to over any man. You are to stay silent. But you arrogantly, rightfully so, but arrogantly don't follow that shit, do you? Because it's stupid and it's awful. But you know that already. That's why you don't fall for it. But then you want to think you're still going to heaven, huh? How about we look at it for what it truly is, which is a dumb, very, very poorly written, stupid J control scheme that we are so far beyond, and just move on. Why don't we take all of the fairy tales that we've been given, put them together, take all the good stuff, the best stuff, and attach it, and then remove all the shitty stuff, and then we have this one religion that we could all sort of follow that encompasses everyone and boosts everyone and all that. Oh, because a one world religion is the bad thing. That's what they told you, right? A one world religion, a one world government, those are bad things. A one world religion where we all worship man and what we're capable of. And that everybody has the same rights. Everybody has the right to exist, the right to be with who they want to be with, all of it. We're not going to do that though, right? You guys want to keep believing in your fucking, your chosen fairy tales. Your 100% nonsensical chosen fairy tales. Because you want to go to heaven when you die. You're going to overlook pedophilia. You're going to overlook genocide, starvation, all that shit. Because you want to go to heaven when you die. Just be a good person, good neighbor, friend, relative. You don't need a 2,000-year-old religion to tell you that. Well, you shouldn't. And if you do, I don't want to be around you because one of these days you're going to figure it out and apparently you're just going to go crazy. You should absolutely, actively be trying to remove the pedophiles in your society. You should have a good relationship with your hate. Hatred is a powerful thing, and it's an okay thing. And until you have a true, meaningful relationship with your hate, you can't love anything. Love is the opposite of hate, right? It's a four-letter nonsense click and whistle that we make that describes a wide range of emotions. But you can't have one without the other. You should be proud of yourself, right? You should be proud of yourself to be, for your anti-Semitism. Real quick, for those that don't know, Semitism definition. Pull it down to the Merriam-Webster. Webster's dictionary.
Semitism.
Okay. Number 1A, Semitic character or qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to Jays.
Semitism.
Policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. The rules and regulations, the way that people think about things. The policy is the rules and regulations. The predisposition is how you go into it thinking. Semitism means you favor them over everyone else. Why would any of you ever practice Semitism? Why wouldn't any of you be proud to be opposed to supremacy? Because that's what policy and predisposition favorable to you is. It is supremacy. That's why they have the AIPAC Policy Conference every year, which is attended by more government officials than anything other than the State of the Union address. It's second only to the State of the Union address for government officials that are attending in the AIPAC Policy Conference. 2016, both Clinton and Trump spoke at the AIPAC Policy Conference. They didn't attack each other. They didn't have anything negative to say about each other. They both just pledged their allegiance to Israel. Policy or predisposition favorable to this one group of people. Be proud of your anti-supremacy, my friends. Be proud to be Team Goyim. Go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg, bilderberg-group.com. It is free. It is awesome. And all we ask is that you share it with someone. I'll take care of it. Leave it. All we ask is that you share it with someone. You know, it'll ask you how much you want to pay. You can put 0 or you can continue to download. We appreciate all of the donate. We appreciate all of the donations, but you don't need to do that. All we ask is that you share it. I'm leaving you with Hollywoodism, the most important film ever made, which is everything I've talked about today being explained to you by an official J source. They made the movie. It's their thing. It's not my thing. It's not Alex Jones's thing. It's their thing. They made it. They flexed. This is what they want you to know about them. So go watch it. Go share it. Go, at the very least, watch it so you can then come tomorrow and tell me what I'm wrong about. How that's not what the movie's about. Try that. And I'm going to leave you with 3 links to our music videos. On Facebook, COVID Sauce, Donald Trump Hates America, and Sleight of Hand Job. Go check that stuff out. Go share those. Go like those on this feed. Like, share, sub. Help the fuck out. Stand up to the system. Show them that you oppose pedophilia. Show them that you oppose their supremacy. Like, share, and sub this. You know, I'm here every day. I'm here every day. And if I'm not here, I'm on the Facebook page. So, you know, at the very least, we have to say something. We have to be talking about this. We cannot just let this genocide continue to slide. We cannot just let this pedophilia continue to pedophilia. I don't know. Tried to make it rhyme too. We have to stand up. It's time for us to stand up and create the world that we want. You know, there's a quote from Hollywoodism where this old descendant of the Hollywood mogul says, well, essentially, you could say the American dream is the Jewish dream. They don't lie. They don't hide it. They just flat out tell you the truth in that movie. And it's time that we make the Goyim dream come true, where all of us get to live that good life. We have the means, the technology, and the resources for it to happen. We also have the ability to kill all these pedophiles, and we absolutely should. And until we can change the laws to make it okay to kill the pedophiles, I plead to you. I plead, with all the damage and horrible shit you've done, there has to be the slightest semblance of a good person in there, even a little bit. Remember that I don't even know. Just there's got to be a good little piece of you in there somewhere. And if there is, grab hold of it and squeeze it and milk it for all it's worth and fucking kill yourself.